The rain didn't just fall that night, it poured down like heartbreak. Heavy, relentless, and cold. It swallowed the quiet streets of a small American town, drowning them in gray as thunder echoed like a cry no one could answer. Inside a dimly lit auto repair garage at the far end of a dead-end street, a man worked in silence. Grease covered his hands, the sleeves of his shirt rolled up, eyes shadowed with something deeper than fatigue, loss. His name was Marco. Once he had been the kind of man who smiled without a reason. But tonight marked 1 year since he lost Isabella, his wife, his everything, the kind of pain that doesn't scream, just lingers like fog in the chest. The only sounds in the garage were the clinking of tools, the soft hum of a heater, and the rain hammering the tin roof like a funeral drum. Then suddenly, the bell above the garage door rang out loud and frantic. Marco turned sharply. Startled, his wrench slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a metallic thud. What he saw made his breath catch. A woman stood outside, completely soaked in the downpour. Her white wedding gown was soaked and stained with mud, her makeup smeared, mascara trailing down her cheeks. Her chest rose and fell with panic. Her hands trembled against the glass door. She mouthed words through the rain and tears. "Please. Help me." Marco didn't ask questions. He opened the door. The woman stumbled inside, the cold following her like a ghost. Her name was Clara. She had just run from her own wedding. Her body shook, not just from the rain, but from something far heavier. Marco wrapped an old wool blanket around her shoulders and poured her a cup of instant coffee. No words, just warmth. That's all she needed. That's all he had to give. Clara took slow sips of the coffee, her eyes empty and distant as the garage filled with the scent of oil, wet earth, and quiet refuge. Marco returned to his workbench, unsure what to say to a runaway bride on the stormiest night of the year. But he didn't need to say anything. Sometimes silence is kinder than questions. Over the next few days, Clara stayed in the small apartment above the garage, once filled with Isabella's laughter. Marco didn't hesitate. He gave her the key without explanation. Each evening, Clara would come downstairs. They'd share quiet meals, small stories, broken pieces of themselves. She spoke of pressure, family expectations, a love she never felt, a wedding she never wanted. Marco listened, not like a man prying, but like someone who knew the cost of emotional wounds left unspoken. He told her about Isabella, how she used to bring him lunch every day, how she'd smile even when covered in engine grease, how everything felt empty when she left. One night, while reorganizing the shelves with him, Clara found a photograph hidden behind a box of spare parts. It was old, faded by time, but clear enough to see Marco and Isabella on their wedding day. Marco didn't flinch. "That was the last day I felt whole," he said softly. Clara didn't speak. She simply sat beside him, placing her hand gently on his shoulder, offering not pity, just presence. Weeks passed, and slowly, something began to bloom. Not love. Not yet. But peace. Clara started helping at the garage, answering phones, organizing tools, learning how to check oil levels. Marco found himself smiling again. Not the forced smile people wear to hide pain, but a real one. They never talked about what they were building. They just kept showing up. Until one morning, just like the one when she arrived, a black car pulled up outside the garage. A man in a sleek suit stepped out, her ex-fiancé. Clara froze. They spoke outside for 10 tense minutes. Marco stayed inside, watching from the window, his jaw clenched. When she came back in, she looked different, stronger. "I told him I'm not going back," she said simply. "I'm choosing my life, for once." Marco nodded, not as a man proud of her, but as someone who understood what it meant to take your first real breath in years. The rain still fell that morning, but it no longer sounded like sorrow. Inside the garage, for the first time in a long time, it felt like the world was beginning again.